How are you?
All right, we'll call the November meeting of the Victoria Parks Commission to order. Everybody has an agenda packet, I believe. We will, I don't think we have any announcements or reminders to begin with. We'll begin with citizen communication. I have one card. Mr. Clarence Smalls, would you like to address the commission?
Yes.
Please,
Right here, sir.
come on up here to the microphone. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Just want to say I appreciate the opportunity. Justin and Bruno invited me here. That was actually my first time being here. I just want to, I guess you want me to go ahead and just start explaining what the M3BA is? Well, I'm the founder and the owner of an organization. It's called the M3BA, and it stands for Men's 361 Basketball Association. And what we do is it's an independent professional basketball organization which provides a platform for local and national players and also national teams to come out here to Victoria and get the exposure and recognition across the world. And so, you have, we're right in the crossroads, so we're in the middle of everything. So I've been here 12 years, and I'm actually from Fort Worth. So I came to Victoria to go to college, do my 2 years. And I noticed throughout my years living here, everyone always do college 2 years or 1 year, then they leave. Or they've been here their whole life, and then they leave to go 2 hours away, Austin, San Antonio, Corpus, or New York, or whatever. So we created this platform to where they can just stay home, and represent their hometown and, still see their family, still work, instead of having to go get the opportunity. And then let's say it don't go anywhere, then they got to come back home. So why not just go ahead and stay home? And we have this platform to where you can play professional basketball. And we invite other professional players and teams to come play our teams that we've been constructing the past 2 years. So the platform is just amazing. It's been a God blessing. The vision that just came 3 years ago, it just nonstop. So what we want to do is just keep creating opportunities and options to where our locals can stay here. So what we've done is we've basically reversed, the opportunities. Instead of they going there, 2 hours away, we have people from out of the country now are attracted by the M3BA. We have out-of-state players, out-of-state coaches. They want to come to Victoria for 6 months to come live and be a part of the M3BA. So that's basically just a general description of what we do for our locals.
That's really interesting. That's you mentioned that last time, right? We were talking about it after the meeting, maybe, I guess.
Yeah, because I've been, I play a lot of sports. I've been playing softball and kind of seeing how some of the tournaments haven't been making due to lack of teams. And then I noticed he was throwing these tournaments, and then I've seen these soccer tournaments also at the community center. They've been having them every weekend. And so I was like, man, really wanted to. I'm like, if I do something, I want to have this guy. If I can do anything, I know that one thing I'd like to do is try to figure out how to help this guy, because they're bringing sports and tourism to Victoria, and with their professional league, semi-professional league. So I wanted him to come up here and explain what they do, because try to get us also more involved with the community. We don't have too much citizens communication or our involvement like that. So what do you think? What are some ways that we could? Do you think that we could, or that you need help, that are ways that we could help?
Definitely housing. And the reason why I say housing is because, like I said, this all started with just the locals to have an opportunity to stay home. But now, over the past year, it's attracted, like I said, out of state and out of the country, like players. And I have not once reached out to them. They always reach out to us. So every day I wake up, got 30 messages from people from Nigeria. It can be somebody from South Africa, Mexico, Belize, like it's all over. So if we somehow do have some type of partnership as far as housing, we have, like I mentioned to you, Justin, we have at least 50 like international players that are already committed to come here for 6 months and live and train. Like I was telling you about those programs, Monday through Friday, we have these training programs for basketball players where they come in and they just come in and train and working on weaknesses. So like if we can have some type of housing set up, that's gonna just it's just gonna increase as far as M3BA players and staff, and if as far as the city of Victoria, as far as diversity, it's gonna keep everything diverse. Like I said, I'm from Fort Worth, so once I came here, I just seen so many opportunities. So
Are they
running this.
currently just staying in hotels, or
I'll say it again, sir.
the people that are coming right now? Are they just staying in hotels for 6 months? Are they living with local people? How are they housing? How are they handling housing right now?
Well, we're still trying to figure that out. So we're doing it. We do everything on our own. Like we don't really have help, So I've been trying to get with real estate agents to try to get try to see how many bedrooms they have. Get like a number. So as far as like internationals, they're not here yet. So we're still working on try to get donations and stuff because we do have a nonprofit organization as well. 501c3 status and stuff. So we're trying to get help to get donations so we can use that for housing. But out of state players, we're gonna basically set up a job opportunity for them so when they come out here they can pay their own rent. So but the internationals, they have a lot of restrictions and red tape. They can't work certain hours, and once they get over here they can't really do as much. So
Right.
but out of state they're citizens, so they can come here and work and still pay their rent. But we want to get to where we can provide the housing, because if we're providing housing, we're already saving the money, as far as spending on housing. So they're gonna automatically go, oh, I'm already saving money, so I'm gonna go ahead and go, develop my game, build my basketball profile, move to Victoria, and then go back home with the experience that they have in here. And it's gonna create that pipeline for their hometown. When they go back home, then they're gonna have others like, oh, I want to go check out Victoria, 6 months or whatever, or do a visit. But that's pretty much what we're doing right now. We're just trying to just do the best we can. But if we can get housing, that'll open up the portal as far as the international and the out of state more.
So are there other organizations and other communities doing what you're doing here?
As
It's,
far
it's
as
part of a larger league or something like that?
far as my research, it's an untapped market. As far as the 361 for sure in South Texas, and no one has what we have. To say that the most humblingest way, like no one has what we have. Like I was just mentioning to you, we have homeschool kids now that are joining our basketball, league. So you can be homeschooled, you can be in college, you can be out of college. It's pretty much a players' league. It's just whatever you want to do. But as far as homeschool, you got to get a parent approval. Pretty much it's just that simple. But other than that, yeah, we just doing the best we can. But no one has what we have. Just by my experience and knowledge, and all the research I've done. So
Does it cost money to participate in the league?
yes, it does, because it is a service. But if you've been here since day one, like we started 3 years ago, we pretty much cover fees, because we know that you're all in and we trust that you'll be here. But like if Justin, you want to, come build your basketball profile, you'll pay a membership fee, let's say $75. But semi-pro teams and organizations everywhere else, they charge you $150, $250 plus $50 per month. We just charge a flat rate. So we want to make it a reasonable cost too, for our players.
So is the goal to develop a team here locally that can compete with those other teams
Yes.
that are already out there?
Yes,
And
but
are those
also, I'm sorry.
established leagues already out there for?
I'm sorry, repeat that again.
Are there established pro or semi-pro leagues, basketball leagues already out there that you would play in?
Yeah, we've already played a couple
Okay.
semi-professional organizations that actually beat two of them already.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, we've only been doing this 3 years, but we've been, Victoria, what I know about Victoria players is, they're still dragging their feet a little bit, but we have that system to where we got to keep that fire lit in them. But we've been constructing teams. So right now we have 50 players. So we have 5 teams. And like I was saying, we have three regular league teams, which is kind of like the NBA level. Like you have the NBA, like the Lakers, then they have like a G League. So we have 3 regular teams, and then we have like 3 D League teams, to where like they can move up within our system. Because we're basically creating our own NBA.
And you've been having the tournaments where teams are coming from out of town to participate,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, sir.
Been throwing tournaments at the basketball gym.
Yes. Yeah, we've done the past one we just did. It was Texas Very Own Part 2. It's actually our third tournament. Our first event was Cinco de Mayo 2019. It was at Victoria College. It was only like 30 people showed up. It was the first event. I was kind of like, man. But we had 8 teams. The first event, it was like one from Corpus, actually 2 from Corpus, one from Houston, one from Austin, one from San Antonio, and then we had 3 from Victoria, which were our teams. And then we had a TVO Part 1 at St. Joseph High School in January, and we had 7 teams. 5 were from out of Victoria. I want to say it was, 2 Corpus, same, 2 Corpus, Houston, a San Antonio, and an Austin. And then this recent one we just had, October 2nd, which was like the best tournament I think I've ever even seen as a basketball player too. We had 7 teams, and then we had 3 of our own teams. Then we had 1 from Austin, 2 from Corpus, and 1 from Houston.
Where'd y'all play?
We played at Victoria College.
Victoria College? Okay.
It had been like 100 dunks, like that whole tournament.
Yeah, so this is one of,
Yeah.
one of the reasons, thank you for coming, just because I know we've been speaking about sports and tourism and things like that. And then I'm like trying to figure out ways more for myself to be involved with the commission. And I play a lot of sports, like I said, and I've been playing in these tournaments and stuff like that. So I'd like to, him being one, and then maybe the guy who, throws tournaments for softball, so whatever he needs. So he's saying housing, and maybe that's something we can work to and provide ways before that, maybe like promoting or different things like that, just to support your events, even if it's till we get to a point that is housing. And maybe you and me could work together on some kind of a plan on how we would get there, and that way we can present them and show how we would do that if it was, to move forward.
Yes.
So I'm glad he came, and that's what I want. I want to shine light on the things that we already have too in Victoria,
Appreciate that.
and try to elevate those things for our people in Victoria also.
How many players do you currently have?
50.
50?
and counting.
And how many do you want?
Do I want? Like I said, we're building our own NBA, so it's no limit.
Okay.
It's really no limit.
And how long do you need housing for?
They would come for 6 months. So let's say, like this January, we start our season next month. So the internationals and out of state, they'll possibly be here in January. So it'll be kind of like a January to June, and then October to, like every 6 months time frame. So it won't be like a month to month. It'll be like a set 6 months.
Are you familiar with the Generals? They do kind of a similar program where they
Yeah,
house
the Generals,
people
yes.
for 6 months, and I guess
Yes,
they have
ma'am.
sponsors that take them in and house them for 6 months. So they might be someone you'd want to work with that
Okay.
could help you coordinate that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because we have like I said, we have no help. When I say that, we have literally no help. We've been doing this like literally on our own, like just God's help and strength and vision and just willpower, just action, and that's basically how we pretty much talking to you guys.
Awesome.
Yes. So any help would just just be so much, grateful on our end.
Mr. Smalls, thanks very much for sharing that with us.
Oh, thank y'all.
Very
Thank you for the
interesting.
opportunity. Yes, sir.
And thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You're welcome. Thank y'all.
Take care.
Excuse me.
God bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
I don't see anybody else that's here that would care to address unless, Jason, you want to address this as a citizen? No? Okay. We don't, that's
I
all
can
right.
follow up on our update with that.
We'll do that later. All right. Okay, next on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at the minutes, and are there any directions, any corrections or additions to the minutes that anyone
It looked good.
has? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? All right, very good. Okay, so on to other business. Top of the list, discuss and take appropriate action on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So what we're supposed to do tonight is to decide whether to send this on to council with our approval or exactly what. Council's set up to, council has it on their agenda to review on the 16th, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so, we had our meeting last week to kind of go over it with Christian. So that's the business. Did everybody get a copy of the plan that wanted to see it and review it?
Yes, sir.
I know it's a little last minute, but we do still have some hard copies here.
Yeah,
In case you need it.
Okay. So, I think we'll just open the floor to begin with for any comments from commissioners on adoption of the plan. I guess we should have a motion first to adopt, then we'll have discussion on that motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt it as presented.
Is there a second?
So you're making the motion before the,
That's really the way it's supposed to work, but we never do that. We're not going to vote, Ryan. We're going to talk about it, but yeah, is there a second for the motion?
maybe Ashley, you have something you want to say?
No, I know some people already have some issues with some of the stuff that's in it, so, I guess, I mean, I am willing to second it, but then we're gonna discuss it, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, well, this is just
So-
to bring it to the table.
Just gets it in front of
Okay,
the. right.
second it.
All right, so there's a motion and second, there's any discussion about the plan, so let's have that. You want to just start around the table, or, Gail, do you have some thoughts or concerns? Or what's your situation on adopting the plan?
I was really surprised with the plan and a lot that it entails. I shared some stuff with Jason, and I was wondering if maybe, could you recap the stuff that I shared with you?
Sure. Yeah, well, just going right off the top of my head, I know there was two items that you were concerned about. One of them was in regards to a secondary trail system that was going to be going, I believe, in the Fox's Bend area. Commissioner Repka sent me an email asking me about the secondary trail. And basically, the conceptual design is just that. It's a concept, and it is a design. I feel like we do have enough green space to be able to utilize a secondary trail system there within that section of the park. But if there is concern about it, we can definitely speak to that, especially when it comes down to the construction, phase of it. So again, these are concepts. If there's anything that we want to change after there's, funding, or when there's truly construction design and topics and discussions, we can definitely, address those concerns at that time. One of the other things that I did mention is that, we definitely want to make sure that we utilize all the spaces as possible and appropriately as possible. So, if we do find that there's an area that can fit a couple different amenities, it can do so safely, that we would look at doing that, such as having a secondary trail potentially where you have a disc golf course. That was the one concern. And then the other concern was the boat ramp, correct? Yeah. Okay. The boat ramp, which was in the conceptual design, it was kind of in the bowl, if you will, the quote unquote the bowl of Riverside Park. And that was for the new kayak launch, and that was for the new, the new kayak launch. And again, it's a concept. So we can shift that from the bowl area to outside of the bowl area, to where we've actually had some conversation with Ashley and the pump house about locations for a new kayak launch anyway, or a pull out, because the current one, the location is just, there's a lot of obstacles that we have to deal with. So again, those were kind of my responses to the commissioner, is that, again, they're very conceptual in nature, and that this doesn't necessarily tie us down to this location. There has to be a picnic bench here, or there has to be X here. We can move that if needed.
I think it's important to to keep the plan in perspective and realize what it is and what it's not. And again, like you just said, it's a concept, but it's not a design. It's not saying this is where this is going to go. It says this is not how we're going to do it. This is what we want to consider doing. The how will come later when we sit down and design how all those things are going to work together. And nobody's gonna cram stuff together in such a way that it's not safe or not usable, or, I mean, we'll have plenty of opportunity to deal with that. We're trying to deal with a multitude of things, many of which are never gonna happen, some of which are gonna happen, and then there's other stuff that's gonna happen that we don't even know about yet. But we're trying to kind of, look into the future and see what's down the road. And what we'd sort of like to have and like to consider is with some sort of organization that they've given us. I thought they've done a good job of analyzing what we've got. They listened to a lot of input from a lot of people about what we would like to have, and I think they've done a very reasonable job of kind of bringing that together, giving us something that we can start on. And of course, I think our job as a commission is going to be to try to keep the plan out there and keep it fresh and alive and so forth. But again, it's not how we're going to do it. It's just what are we going to consider doing. So I just want to keep that perspective on.
I think one thing that was giving me trouble with the plan was I was trying to look at the 10-year plan as a safety net of like, we need to get some things in here to ensure that possibly maybe they're attended to or looked after. And I was maybe hoping to get some, I don't know, maybe to give the disc golf course, the Hout course, a priority of not being disturbed, to like try to, support that and move forward with that, to build upon it. And I saw some amenities that were being like placed on top of it, so that kind of really kind of.
And I support the disc golf course because I know every time I go out there, it's being utilized at Riverside Park. I go out there a lot. But so, on me, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, so that was just one thing. If I could maybe get just some reinforcement of we're going to support the disc golf adventure here in Victoria and build upon it, and maybe try to prioritize it. So that
I think, yeah, I mean, I think the community's shown a remarkable commitment to disc golf, and we have, against our peer cities, we're way ahead of the curve. So I think disc golf has really got a permanent place here, and certainly
that's what we hope.
It's doing what, I mean.
I agree. I'm going to play tomorrow if anybody wants to come.
I want them to use the hotels. I don't want them to camp out there anymore. It'd be better.
Well,
Jason wants them to use the hotel.
And I think, not to get out of turn, but I mean, I agree. I think everybody has said, disc golf is very important to Riverside Park. It brings a lot of that sports tourism, which I know that the city is really behind, that they've taken a big initiative to bring in there. I also, just as somebody that plays out there, I think it would be interesting if they changed up the course some. You don't have to completely remake the course, but if there's a way to incorporate, adding other features into the park, but still allowing, not, again, prioritizing disc golf and saying that this is something that we want as a keystone feature of our park, but maybe the way it's set up right now, we could move one or two holes around and add in another playscape or something like that in there. So we're not getting rid of disc golf, but maybe we're just rearranging some of the stuff in the park, because the thought that I get is, they put it in there because we had so much extra space, but maybe it wasn't the most efficient use of all of the space. Again, I don't know, that's just kind of my thought. Maybe there's a way to get the best of both worlds, to keep disc golf as a priority, but add some other things in by arranging the course. Because, as far as I know, when's the last time that the whole course was rearranged?
That's kind of the whole point, is the Riverside Disc Golf Course was created by John Houck, who is now 38 years later has gone on to become the most world famous disc golf course designer. So you want to keep his course intact because that's your cornerstone course. So that was the big concern, is we've been working 38 years to try to preserve and maintain his course design so that we can keep calling it a Houck course. If we go changing his course, then it's not so much a Houck course anymore.
Gotcha. So there's no desire then in the disc golf community to change the course?
Well, the course it has grown over the last 38 years. We've got extra pins on baskets, and you'll notice that the baskets do move around. Yeah, so there's extra pins. And I just shared a link with Jason. It's the Victoria Parks, victoriaparks.org is the Victoria Parks Coalition website, and up there I have a disc golf resource. So I've got all the maps and the T signs for the courses, for all the courses, except for Tracy. I don't have Tracy up right now. I apologize. Yeah, so there's a resource there, and you can see all the maps and all the T signs. And the T signs is where it breaks down to show the alternate pin locations. So
I've seen that. I've never known exactly how it worked, but we go out there and play pretty regularly at lunch because you can get like 12 holes in an hour between lunch. I'm not that great, so I can only get 12 in an hour.
There are some things that could benefit y'all though, right? Like having maybe picnic tables or things like that
Oh,
added.
most definitely, most definitely.
So
Yes.
there are some things that we could bring over there that would benefit y'all, right?
Yes, Fox's Bend is crying for picnic tables and shade and
Okay.
a whole list of stuff like that.
Well, I think that's what, that's what we'll address when we're to the point of doing those things. But in terms of an overall plan, I think that, the concept is that we want to look at those things and make sure that they work as well as they can possibly work together. Or whatever, if it's not a trail, or if it's a partial trail, or, whatever it is, because like I said, the actual doing will take place at a point further down the line. And this doesn't set any particular timeframes or command that we do anything in a particular order or way. So anyway, other
was just my
thoughts,
main
other
concern.
comments, other thoughts?
Well, yeah, I was looking at trying to find the trail, and I didn't think I had seen 8th Trail in here, right? You remember Dr. Reese had came, and he was mentioning that trail, and I had got interested in it because he keeps talking to me about it even at our other board meetings, and
He's passionate about the trail system, yes, sir.
yeah, and I was just he keeps telling me I got to go out there because he's invited me a couple times to walk with him, however long that would take. But yeah, so I was just wondering, well, is that ours? Or what? Is there anything that could be done with? Because he did have some great ideas too, and I'd love to, at the least, have some feedback for him since he took the time to come out here.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah,
you might mention to him the priority that the plan places on trails.
But I didn't see that name on our trails, right? There was a list of trails.
I think it's part of the Paseo de Victoria is what they call it
Okay,
in here,
okay.
and it combines like all of the trails, the Lone
And I was
Tree
trying, because I
Trail.
was also trying, after our meeting last time, I was riding by trying to figure out where it was, and I
Right.
couldn't find it, so I was just interested. And he had also mentioned something about a map, a trail of maps, and then saying how long the distance was for the trails. I just thought those were some interesting ideas, and when I hadn't seen the actual name, that's interesting information that you give me.
Yeah,
I just had figured maybe that's not our trail or something like that, so that's just why I was bringing it up.
gotcha. Yeah, the ATHE Nature Trail is considered, in Riverside Park, if you will. And so it's incorporated within that large concept plan that they have, that site plan, in the appendices. I'm not sure I don't think it specifically spells out ATHE Nature Trail. I can tell you that we have had conversations with Dr. Reese ourselves, just on a department level. We've actually started reaching out to him and working with him on some of the nature-based programs, where I know he was wanting to start some like informative type trails and those kinds of things. One of our recreation coordinators, who unfortunately has left, started a conversation with him about that. And so that is something that we do want to continue to investigate and see what we can do about creating some kind of a program like that. But I quite honestly, I don't recall if it's there within, it is spelled out.
Okay.
Where's
It's on
that at,
page
Kimberly?
68 is where they start talking about the trail network and the existing trails and what the level of service should be there.
Yeah, one of the big points is that it is an existing trail, so it's not being added on. I didn't see it in the appendix, but in the main body, those 5 chapters, it's throughout all 5
Okay.
chapters. So if you kind of look in between the golf course and the RV park, you'll usually see lines where it kind of like forks into 2. And then it comes back into 1 right about,
But right
This-
now, it's not being mowed, right? It's not,
Well, it's a nature trail, so it's very
Oh, it's
heavily.
all out nature. You
It's
got-
all nature. So one of his
Okay.
things is the
Okay.
actual trail itself
I get
is
it.
where it needs some work. There's some areas that have been washed out,
Okay.
and some of the things that he wants is it to be cut back a little bit off of the trail itself, which we do periodically, just not on a routine basis.
Well, that's wonderful. So my thing is just that, people not often take their time to come. And if they do, then I'd like to make sure that they feel heard, so maybe other people can
Absolutely.
come up and, so that's what my only concern with this was.
Okay.
Because like you make the good point that it's also something that we can alter as we go forward. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you for bringing it up.
I'm happy with this. I mean, I looked through it thoroughly, and it allows us to grow and connect many organizations to benefiting the park, like VASD's, mentioned in here, multiple organizations like to help, bring like new things to the park as well. I mean, it's a very thorough plan. And then, it addresses everything. I mean, part of it was, keep up the good work and needs work. When you look at that little graph that was on page 77, and moving forward, you see that y'all addressed all of the areas where people wanted you to put more efforts into. And, one thing, the amphitheater, I went to Moana, and the amphitheater is too small. I mean, it does need to be expanded on. We need more stage space. Which, I know that that's part of the plan, but I got to see it firsthand how, enhancing that facility would bring more, more events there. And, it would be awesome to have something like that in Riverside, but we're not there yet. Like, we'll make this one amazing, and then maybe one day, right? But, I'm really happy with this draft. And, y'all looked after everything that I think all of us are invested in. Everyone will grow with this plan. And I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Lori, do you have any
I
comments or
too
thoughts?
was impressed with it. I was impressed with the level of needs and analysis that was done, as well as I commend the staff and the consultants on the efforts they went to get public input. And I know that you guys tried over and over, and you got, what you got, and you did get some really good input. I don't know that there were any surprises, which is always a pretty good place to be when you're, in business or in the city. Also, I was impressed with the fact, too, that they gave recommendations. They went down to even what you need to do with your staff on consolidating and how to consolidate maintenance to save money and those kind of things with regards to recommendations. So from a concept level, and it's a concept document, I'm happy with it, and I think it's thorough. Of course, the next, I'm curious to know what the next step is, because I don't know city processes, but just what is the next step? Where do we go from here?
Right, we're done. That's it.
No,
Put your
no,
books on the
no.
shelf and collect dust. No, I'm just kidding. I'm
It's
just
bubbles
kidding.
on paper, so it's,
I'm just kidding. So the next step is, obviously, once we either approve or we don't approve tonight, it would be taken to city council. So if it's approved here tonight, we'll go to city council for a formal adoption. Once it's formally adopted, then we literally have a 10-year plan. And what we'll be doing as a commission, and Mr. Keeling and I have spoken briefly about this, is reviewing that plan every year and sitting down with the commission and staff and kind of fine tuning it and see what we're going to shoot for, if you will, for our goals for the upcoming year. And then at the yearly retreat, we'll kind of digress and tell you what we accomplished over the year and then what we're going to plan for this upcoming year. So it's something that we'll continue to review probably each quarter, give you an update on certain things, but we'll nonetheless each year we'll sit down and dive into it with you as a commission, us as staff, very detailed and thoroughly.
I do want to make an additional comment, and that is the level of detail that they came up with on the MLK Park, which was one of the smaller parks where they showed, they developed even further.
Yes, ma'am.
I really I think it sets the expectation, and I hope you'll agree with me, that it sets the expectation of that is what the parks and future parks will look like. They will have lighting, they will have good basketball courts, they will have street parking. You know, everything in there was designed, and I'm thinking that, and please confirm me, but that is the level of park resource that the city is going to move toward. That's the standard that the
Yes.
city is going to develop against.
Yes.
Whatever the amenities are in that park is where the city's going to take forward in future parks. Is that true?
That is correct. One of the things that I believe Christian outlined was it being a complete park, which identifies all those areas that you just mentioned.
God, I'm so excited for that one. MLK Park, that's gonna be great.
So that's the standard, basically. That's what,
That's what
Where-
that's our goal.
That's
Yes,
your
ma'am.
goal,
Our
right.
goal is to have every park to have a complete park that has all those things that you mentioned: security, parking, lighting, playgrounds, you name it. Yes, ma'am.
that works for me?
Yeah, I'd like to echo what everybody else says, is I'm very impressed with the detail. The one thing that I guess kind of stuck out to me where I feel like there was a little bit lacking is there was a lot of talk about connectivity and proximity to parks, you know, the quarter-mile walk shed and that sort of thing. And I don't feel like this really accomplished connecting that. It said, here's your big deficit,
Right.
but it just kind of left it there, like, here's the deficit. I don't know, maybe there is nothing we can do about it. I was looking at, it's,
You know, I think the one thing that, you're right, it doesn't do it. But I thought that it sort of admitted that it didn't do it, and that one of the things that they suggested that we do is undertake that transportation plan. Which I thought was a good suggestion. I mean, a suggestion that the community obviously needs to hear. And I guess they kind of gave it to us, but I think you're right. There's a missing link in there.
Yeah.
Because they certainly pointed out the that one map of all the park deserts in the middle of the developed part of the city, which, and one of the recommendations was to try to acquire, intentionally acquire some parkland within those areas and stuff. And and you're right. I mean, I think if, I like the idea that that's a goal, to connect them and make them, and make them useful and convenient to people, that they can be used like they're intended to be used.
right, and kind of like you said, what's the next step? I think that, as we go along and adopt this, that should be a next goal for the commission is, okay, we've got a 10-year plan on how to make all these parks great and what the community needs. Now, how do we get the communities to the park? And I think that a lot of that has to do with being able to connect. There is the proposed trail network kind of around the outside of the city, but there's nothing through the center of the city, which is where the majority of the people live. I mean, if you look at the center of town where the heavily residential area is there's parks all on the outside of it. And if you're close enough to one of them, great. But if you're in the inner city, which it's kind of the inner city, but not in the typical sense of the term, there's not a lot of ways for you to get there without crossing those major thoroughfares and that sort of thing. There's not great sidewalks in Victoria. So in my mind, that should be a next step for our commission is, okay, how do we get, a hike and bike lane down Red River? I was talking to Bob Glenn at UHV, and he's really a big proponent of pedestrianizing, UHV. And that's in the center of town. Can we piggyback on something with them and connecting Riverside and downtown and UHV to the greater bike trail so that I don't have to go all the way up to Ethelene Tracy to get back down to Riverside, sort of thing.
Yeah. I think the term they used, Jason, was active transportation.
Yes, sir.
So that's walking and pedestrian-friendly bikes and, other things. I mean, Victoria's a car town. It was built as a car town. There's no question about that. Yeah. And so we have to do a little deconstructing, I guess, to kind of get there. But pursuing that active transportation plan was one of the recommendations. And I don't really know, and that's something we can certainly as a group push for, is that for the city to maybe that's part of what we recommend with our recommendation of this plan, is that the city take to heart the recommendation to go ahead and conduct an active transportation plan to help jumpstart that part of it, because
And I think the city just needs more exposure. I know you were out at the duck safari this weekend. I saw you paddling out there in the lake. But people come out to the parks and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I didn't even know that Ethel Lee Tracy was back here. Like, this is awesome. And I mean, it's been there for how many years and people just have no idea it even exists. So how do we connect after this? How do we connect the communities back to the parks that they're paying for, that are their resources? So, but other than that, yeah, I thought everything was great. I thought there was a lot of detail. I guess, yeah, that would be my recommendation is let's adopt this and let's get to the next step of how do we get the community into the park to utilize it, so.
Well, I thought it was a good plan. I think, I was really excited, particularly about the, some of the things that I think are really, really doable, which are some of the regulatory things we could do in the development ordinance to, assure that we've got the ability to require dedication of parkland on new development. I thought those were well thought out. And if we do that, it sounds like it's clear from those recommendations, it's a right way to do it and a not so right way to do it. And, end up with a town with a whole bunch of pocket parks, none of which have anything to do with each other. And that could easily happen if you're not careful and intentional about how you approach it. But that process seems to have, that's something we can do, I think. And we can certainly have an impact on it as a commission. I think would be good and be a great way to increase that accessibility. I think if I had a criticism of the plan, it was kind of because of circumstances. And I know they addressed it to some degree. They talked about, about flood control and flood stuff. Having had that flood hit when it hit and be as severe as it was, it's been a long time since we've had one that bad. And you tend to forget over the course of a couple of years just how destructive that is. And I don't know whether, and, I'm going through it, looking at particularly their suggestions for how the department ought to organize and handle, some of its duties. The recovery from that is we need to be, I was out riding through there the other day and I was looking around and, there's a lot of work to be done because of that. And it's going to take several months for it to dry out enough to do the work. And, that happens. It hadn't happened in a while, it doesn't seem like. But over the course of the time I've lived here, it's happened a lot. And, so, and it was just kind of unfortunate that we hadn't, I would have liked to have seen a little more attention paid to that, but I think that's because we just got hit by an event at the last minute that sort of brought it to the top of mind. There is some stuff in there about paying attention to flood control stuff. I noticed we have another big place where the, over there across from the,
John F. Kennedy, or
Yeah.
John F. Lee Drive,
right, where the,
Erosion area.
big washout.
by the Lions Club Pavilion.
Yep, right
sir.
there. So anyway, I think it was a good product and I'm certainly prepared to support it.
Awesome. I can just tell you that it was fun working with HAF. They were a great consulting firm to work with, and yeah, everybody on that team is very, very fun, right, Kimberly? So it was a pleasure working with HAF. They were obviously they put together a pretty good product. I thought it was an excellent product, honestly. And yeah, any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Anybody like to call for a question? For a vote? A vote?
Voting?
Yeah. Just a motion to call the question and we'll vote on it.
So I move that we
Yeah.
adopt,
Yeah, we've already got the motion, it's just a matter of calling for the vote.
so I move to call for the vote.
Okay, all right. All right, all in favor of adoption of the plan and sending it on to the city council, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, very good.
Thank you. I appreciate all of your support, and I appreciate all of your time too, because I know it wasn't just a 5-minute read, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jason. Y'all, the department did a great job too. And
Thank you.
everybody hang on to your copy of the plan because we're gonna be using them.
Yes.
But you're right, Lee, I think that's something that we should keep visiting, whether or not there's so much of it in here. Continue that conversation amongst the commission. 'Cause I think
Absolutely.
there should be there could be something, there's something creative, something out there that somebody knows and about that flood issue. You know, there might be something, whether it takes us 6 months or a year, maybe that's something we can keep revisiting to try to figure that out.
Yeah, that's just, it's just, boy, the timing was just bad, I guess.
Well, I think that's important to, like you talked about, going into the future, to remember when, we are actually looking, and I don't know how this will happen when it actually goes out to building the structures, but just making sure that we have a long-term view of the structures that we build in the park. Like, if down the road do look at putting an amphitheater in Grover's Bend or something like that, anything in the park has to be, and I know you had mentioned it, designed to be able to withstand, a substantial level of flooding. We know that anytime it gets to 30 feet, that whole area is pretty much done for. So making sure that, we do it the right way and don't build something that's going to get washed away, so.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. All right, number 2 on the agenda is discussion of the dog park. Gail reminded me that this has been something we've discussed a lot over many years, including that was the beginning of the Victoria Parks Coalition, was to consider taking on the dog park. So I'm anxious to talk about the dog park, so.
Or more, yeah.
Well, I just really wanted to give you all a simple reminder, just a refresher, if you will, that we did have Izzy Drain from the Girl Scouts, and she, was interested in building a dog park. That was her Girl Scout project. After we talked with her, we felt that it was a little bit more feasible for her to go out for sponsorships for the amenities and not necessarily the construction of the dog park itself, because that may take a while. But nonetheless, I wanted to let you know that we were in contact with her a few weeks ago. She has started to set up an account, and she will be pushing for sponsorships shortly. One of the other things that you just approved, thank you, the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, but one of those, in that master plan, in the conceptual for Riverside Park, there is a location for the dog park. There was one that was outlined in there, and then there was another one that was mentioned on 59 over there by, or the Houston Highway. But what I wanted to do is just show you a snapshot on the screen itself. You can see the pump house down at the bottom, and then just north of the pump house, there's the ditch, and it's kind of a V. It's right here. So that area was the area that they had identified as the dog park. And I just wanted to really just kind of bring this back around to the commission and say that is one of the projects that we're looking at to be able to get to start moving on shortly. And what we're going to be doing is working with a consultant to look at some design costs and some construction costs. We need to get some updated construction costs associated with it. Some of the old construction costs that we had were from 2015, and quite frankly, prices have changed since then. So we're trying to get all of that updated. I will have a better timeline and a better design/cost estimate for you for the next meeting, just to give you kind of an idea of what this construction could look like as far as cost is concerned and as far as what the time frame would be. So I just wanted to bring up that conversation to you and let you know that it is identified within that Parks and Recreation Master Plan, and we do have some support from outside communities or outside organizations as well as the city. So, yes, sir.
Is that the land that was currently being leased to somebody?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. That piece of property is over here.
Okay, so that's the land that's being leased out right now?
Yes, sir. Yeah, and that lease, I believe, is only for a 2-year and not a 5-year.
Okay.
That's 2 potential dog parks. You're saying, so the one for Izzy has space waiting for funding, and then another one, this one right here, something that we're doing ourselves. Is that?
Well, no, what we would be looking at to combine a project with Izzy with the Girl Scouts would be this location right here. The other location, that secondary location that the master plan spells out, is over there off of the Houston Highway, which would I think in that one, it also talked about opening up a trail system to the Lone Tree Creek Park and having a trailhead there off of 59 with the dog park there at that location.
But ideally, this one is probably gonna be the first one that
Yes,
could
sir.
potentially happen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well
Yes,
then I say we get all behind her every way we can.
Okay,
Shoot.
okay.
You know, something else in regard to the dog park, because we have been working on it since 2015. One thing that the commissioners wanted back then that we weren't able to add into the plans because of cost was a water feature. Being that we're in Texas, I mean, it's so hot for the dogs. A water feature is, I think, something that should be considered as a feature. And you're
Okay.
right there by a ditch, so maybe you got some water you can pump in there.
The way that coalition, Izzy, and, you know, maybe Parks and Rec, we could try to have a fundraising event. That may be something that we can be part of as a commission also. I think maybe we should at least try.
Well, the city's gonna pay for the dog park,
Oh.
so.
Okay, so she's just doing the funding for the amenities.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it now.
And she, I think one of her ideas to start raising some funding for that was to create pavers, right? Was it pavers that she was wanting to sell? Like memorial pavers for, I guess, lost dogs, yeah, that have crossed the Rainbow Bridge. And so she wanted to have some sponsorships through that. So she is working on a process, if you will, for sponsorships in that regard.
Great.
But again, I just merely wanted to bring this back up as, you know, the fact that we just approved the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. It did identify a location, and that we were working with Izzy, with the Girl Scouts, to be able to come up with some funding and you know, construction of the dog park. So this is the location that it had identified in the master plan, and just simply letting you know that I'll have more information for you next month.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Jason. Yes, sir. Next is discuss the National Fitness Campaign. I think there's a handout on this that we've got here.
So the National Fitness Campaign, what I handed you was a 2021 summary or report from the National Fitness Campaign. And Kimberly and I actually had a conversation with them about a year ago. And they, at that time, they were working with the Texas Recreation and Park Society to produce a grant in order to allow communities an opportunity or another opportunity to get a fitness court. There's some general information about the program cost. Again, this was last year. I don't have anything updated from them for this year. Basically, what this is it's a program and an organization that that wants to put these fitness courts in communities, right? And it's really just to get people active and to get people in shape. And so these fitness courts, what they do is they ask for the city or an organization to go out and seek sponsorships, and then they'll match a certain amount. With the TRAPS grant, there was some money that Texas Recreation and Park Society would match as well. And so that's where some of these numbers are coming from. But ultimately, the entire program cost, I mean, you can see it right there, was it's about 120. Funding required was 105,000. The NFC program funded 130,000. So in totality, it's, you know, $200,000. There you go. Overall total funding was needed was $105,000 to $165,000. Other cities around the state, around the country, have brought in these fitness courts. One was in Edinburgh. There was a few spread throughout Texas. But nonetheless, I wanted to bring these up to you, provide you with the information that we did have. I have reached out to some other cities, just waiting on a word back from them about how it went with National Fitness Campaign. But yeah, so if there's any questions, this doesn't necessarily get put into our Parks and Recreation Master Plan anywhere, but if there is an area that we want to identify to be able to place one of these, we can definitely identify and start working on some funding and sponsorships.
What are your thoughts on where it should be put?
You know, it's kind of a random one. I thought Lone Tree Creek would be a really cool place. I mean, we're looking at wanting to expand it through the trail system. It's off of Airline. It's right next to a high school. We have a splash pad out there. I mean,
Walking trails right there, too.
walking trails. It's an area that we want to increase the usage on. And to me, it makes sense because you're right there next to a trail, system. But that's just me.
You've got a lot of room.
And I didn't talk with staff about that either. That was literally just me. So.
I like that idea too, because say if a family's there, maybe the wife or the husband or whoever might want to stay working out while the other people doing the trail.
Splash pad.
Yeah, true that.
But again, this is something that we don't have to decide on whether or not we want to do this, this go around. I believe there was some information provided to y'all maybe a month or two ago on it, but nonetheless, I wanted to be able to give you everything that we had and then have another conversation if wanted.
You found, there were several of these in Texas. There was one out in West Texas, I think we looked at. And
Yeah,
Dallas too.
Yeah.
Frisco was one. I know Frisco was one.
There's one at Baylor.
The one over at Baylor.
Yeah.
It wasn't the city of Waco, but it was Baylor
It was
University. Edinburgh did one, the city of Edinburgh. There was another one in the Houston area. I can't remember if it might have been Pearland. I don't know. There's a handful of them here in the Texas
McKinney,
area, though.
looks like.
I'm sorry?
Kenny had one, right?
McKinney?
McKinney, yes, sir. Yep. So again, it's something that we can look at pursuing. It's something that we can say, hey, you know what? We've got other projects right now. Let's not worry about this. Let's
Well,
look at something else. I just wanted to bring it back up for discussion.
The questions I guess that I would have about it is just how did they do it? Organizationally, who did it? Who did the, did they have a public group created to do this particular project, or was it some other incumbent group that would already existed that picked it up and took it, or did,
Okay.
What role did the cities have? What role did, in Baylor's case, I'm sure the university did it.
Right.
And maybe that's something that the University of Houston might be interested in looking at. I don't know.
I know there's one in San Antonio too that was sponsored by some of the hospitals there. It's in the medical center area. And so some of the hospitals picked it up, and it's as a part of a walking trail in the med center. So that's another thing to think about with a partnership with, citizens as part of the county or DTAR or UHV. I think that would be a public-private partnership could be good there.
I think this is a great forum to have this discussion because, this is a great place to, everybody here knows a lot of folks. And so I think, like you just mentioned, the hospitals or the universities or whoever, we can definitely reach out to a multitude of organizations or businesses and seek sponsorships.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have a friend, she's a teacher and she's married to a fireman, and they utilize that splash pad regularly. And we went over there one day last year and hung out there for like a couple of hours, which is a lot longer than we normally spend at a splash pad. And just kind of talked to the people that were there, and they said that there's just nothing for the adults to do. It's boring. And then people jump on the trail. And for me, when I use the trail, I've always gone for a bike ride, then I take my kids to the splash pad afterwards, and they play on the splash pad, but then I'm just sitting there, right?
Right.
And, I play, but okay. Most people just sit there. And so there's nothing really for the adults to do. This gives them something to do. And so I really like that location because it was something that my friend said that we needed, and she sent me all these pictures and of one that she saw when she went out of town. She was like, we need this here. We don't have this. And then, looking at the master plan, it says 36% of, adults in Victoria are obese. So, 30%, 36%, could use this additional, workout opportunity. Not everybody can afford a gym membership, but if you have these facilities, I do believe they will get utilized. And I just think that, we have bars in Riverside, some pull-up bars. We have a little bit of workout equipment. We need something like this so people can be in better shape and, not cost them a fortune. So I love it.
Okay.
I do as well. I was gonna say, I don't know how much more I could learn about it to like it more, because I like it a lot. I like the idea and the concept.
Okay.
Maybe we need a couple of them.
Right, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
At
I just-
every trail, like at the beginning of every trail, yes.
So one of the recommendations in the master plan we just adopted was that the city or the planning department come up with regulatory ordinances with regards to new development, correct? So this, to me, looks like a new fun way to incorporate fitness into a new development, whether it be residential, commercial, medical, whatever. So I'd like to see it on the plan of things that the city would go and ask for. I mean,
Okay.
I know that the city has some work to do to develop that ordinance, but definitely as this city grows with economic development and tax base, I mean, the city's going to come up with ordinances of what you're going to ask for as developers come to town.
Right.
So, and that's one way to get it funded and space allocated for it as part of the overall concept one with developmental planning.
I like
mean,
that
for
idea.
example, I don't know where we are, but I know the area that's next to Home Depot off of the Loop.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I know they're moving the off-ramp that's supposed to be, I heard the Assistant City Manager speak about it some months ago about the new economic development there and all the shops they're bringing in. I mean, again, that's an opportunity. You've got people coming to a location, it's just another opportunity to the city to to do what cities do, and that is do land planning with trails and outdoor spaces. So, again, go develop some ordinances and we'll go get it.
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
So it's definitely something that the commission is interested in pursuing, or at least would like us to continue to pursue, correct?
I sure would
Okay.
like to know, I'd like
Okay.
to know more about how it's being done in some of these other communities so we can take a closer look at it. I think it's
Okay. What we'll do is, at the next meeting, we can provide an update from some of the communities that we've gotten responses from. And we can also do a little bit of digging and see if there's any ordinances that maybe around Texas that speak to something along these lines.
And then give us time to look into it ourselves so we can bring some feedback to the next meeting.
Okay.
'Cause this is cool stuff. I'd like to look more into it.
Okay, perfect. And we'll also check with Traps too and see if they have their grant funding again for this year and see what that looks like. But okay, perfect. Appreciate it. Thank y'all.
okay. Well, Jason, do you have the, maybe Parks and Recreation Department updates? Kimberly or Jason, whoever, I'm not sure maybe both of you.
Sure. Why not? So we'll roll into Parks and then I'll pass it over to Kimberly for Recreation. So Parks has been underwater. So it's been an interesting October, but nonetheless, we are starting to secure contractors for the facility updates over at some of the facilities that we have for the TAF Winter Games. So that's a project that we've been working on. We're continuing to work on. We did start collecting data associated with the staff hours. I apologize, I didn't include, I didn't include that Excel spreadsheet. But what I will do is I'll send that out to y'all so you have an idea of what we're actually trying to capture within our department. It's really a lot of great data that we're going to get and be able to identify where some of our gaps are. So that's going to help us out. We're also continuing to work on various projects. Please just stop me and tell me you want an update as I go through them. We have the Duck Pond, we have Riverside Splash Pad, we have the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Thank you. The CDBG grant lighting project that is taking place, and we'll add the dog park to this as well. So any questions on any of those projects? Okay. The community center splash pad, we did want to let y'all know. I can't remember if I mentioned this to you last month or not, but we did receive the quotes to get that fixed. It was roughly $20,000 for repairs. A lot of it had to deal with was it collapsed lines? I can't remember. It was a collapsed line or a line leak that ended up creating some issues in there, and then we ended up having that separation in the concrete, thus the issue that we had up top on the surface. That quote is to fix everything from top to bottom. So, and then one of the things that I wanted to mention to you was that basically in October, we went to a lot of conferences and got everything knocked out, and we're done for the year, right? I'm done. I don't know about Kimberly, but I'm wiped out. So we were able to attend the Texas Tree Conference. We were able to attend the National Recreation and Park Society, Parks Association's conference, annual conference. Kimberly and I were fortunate enough to be able to attend the Sports Relationship Conference. It is a really unique conference. I don't even know what to call it. It's really not even a conference, but it's more speed dating. I know, right? It's more speed dating with cities or facility holders with tournament directors. And they're tournament directors that are on a national level and an international level. And so what we were able to do was connect with about 30 to 40 different tournament directors that are looking to bring stuff to communities. And so we have maybe 3 or 4 solid leads, and we're continuing to work on those as we speak. So hopefully here in the near future, you'll be able to see some new events with regards to sports tourism coming to Victoria. So we're really excited about that. And then I just came back from this one. That's why I'm wiped out. Is the Texas Forest? I was asked to attend the Texas Forest Leadership Academy in College Station. So, yeah, it's been a really busy October in between that and the floods. That's kind of what we've been dealing with. Before I get to Kimberly, I did want to share with you a quick picture. This right here to the right-hand side is the golf course. If you really don't know where you're at, because I don't even really know where I'm at looking at this picture, but to the right-hand side of the picture is the duck pond. And if you look kind of beyond those 2 trees, just to the right, if you go a little bit further past, if you squint your eyes really hard, you can see the clubhouse. So all of the clubhouse was not affected, but majority of the course was. So I do have a couple of other pictures here for you. That top left picture was actually taken on the 20th, so the water was already starting to recede, and that is behind the pump house. I believe the rest of the pictures were on the 19th. No, it had to have been on the 20th as well. So the top right picture is at the intersection of John F. Lee and, was that McWright? Yeah, because the zoo's, there's a white truck, and that's where the zoo is at. On the bottom left-hand picture, you can see that's going to be the Grover's Bend area, still underneath water. That was even a couple days later. On the bottom right-hand picture, you can see that's Fox's Bend. You can actually tell where the water line was at, and that was I took that in the morning time. So as the water receded overnight, you can see where it was left. And obviously, all the mud and silt that we have to deal with is in that picture on the bottom right as well. And then our soccer fields are in the middle picture. That was actually the 20th as well. They did really well, honestly. The turf is, and you can't even tell that we had a flood out there. I was talking with the president of EYSO this past weekend, and he was just giving kudos to staff. He's like, you couldn't even, we would have never have known this was underwater if we couldn't have accessed it. And so,
You don't have to water it for like at least a month, right?
yeah, I mean, like, we're good now. We're good till next summer, so.
Do you have an estimate, like even rough estimate of like damage cost-wise to Riverside from the flood?
No, I don't. Most of it is really, a lot of it's going to be erosion and tree damage. We didn't necessarily have a whole lot of facility damage. A lot of the damage was just trees falling over and loose debris within the park. So all of the hours and the costs were associated with maintenance hours, other than the erosion, and that's where we need to we need to find some help there, and costs. But I'm not sure. I don't have any numbers for you for the facilities. All right, any other questions on parks? Okay, I'll go into recreation.
And part of with the maintenance costs that are associated with the flooding, when Jason sends out the spreadsheet that we've been collecting for data, we do have that flooding component on there, so we can see how many staff hours we've spent on that. But yeah, luckily there wasn't really any facility damage, just the banks, the erosion. All right, recreation. So.
Yeah, and some of this was from last month too, because we weren't able to present.
Okay. That's right. So just a quick update of a couple of the programs and events that we finished off last month with, getting into this month. and next month. So we did have the Halloween Haunted Cinema with a trunk or treat and then a double feature movie, and that was really successful. We had over 160 cars out for that, and then for the first movie, we watched Coco, and then we watched Jeepers Creepers for the adults, and some of the teenagers and college kids, and we had over 80 cars out for that. So that was really awesome. We did it at the community center, and that was a lot of fun. We also had the pop-up park out on Saturday. Our fire department celebrated their 150th anniversary, so we went out and supported them, and we had our pop-up park out there, also kind of showing us parks. And then in the evening, we were supposed to have the Riverside Camp Out and Movie Night, but all the ground was still really saturated from the flood and then the rain that we had Wednesday and Thursday. So we had to cancel the camp out portion, but we still held with the movie portion. So we watched Shrek, and that was over at Riverside Stadium, which was also a lot of fun. Coming up this month, we do have drive-in bingo on Tuesday, the 23rd at 6:30, right before Thanksgiving. So hopefully a lot of people are back in town to celebrate with their families, college kids back home, and we'll have a great turnout for that. We have Christmas on the Square on December 3rd, and then the Lighted Christmas Parade on December 4th. We are looking at having the judges back for the floats. We would really like to have someone from the Parks Commission. So if you're interested in possibly being a judge, that commitment looks like coming out probably about 4 o'clock, walking through the lines, looking at the floats, and then being there throughout the Christmas parade as well and judging, and we'll have a rubric. We're looking at having representatives, so someone from the Parks Commission, someone from Downtown Main Street Board, the Tourism Board, and then VISD, so we can really get great collaboration going on with some of our different boards. So if you're interested, send me an email, and we'll give out more information. Hopefully I'll hear from someone by Thanksgiving, so that'll give us a good minimum of a week to get all the information out to whoever's interested. And then the weekend following that is the youth hunting program. So the weekend of December 10th, so from Friday night to Sunday afternoon, early afternoon, we are doing the youth hunting program. Applications close this Friday. And I know this one is, are there any questions about the youth hunting program? I know more information's come out, and I don't know if you guys touched on it last month or not. So I wanted to specifically give time right now for any questions about the youth hunting program.
How many applicants have we had apply so far?
So all applications go through the Texas Wildlife Association. They're the main ones that put this on. We're just working with them, and they partner with landowners and then Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. They take all applications, and then once it closes, they go through and they select the 6 from there.
So we won't know even, do we get any data on the back end of how many people applied or anything like that to know if it was a successful thing or not?
I can ask them, and hopefully they'll share that information. We have a really good relationship with them. The director is really fantastic, so I'm sure I can get all that, like the details, to see how well responded, not only Victoria, but it's open to all of Texas. So, one of the neat things about this is people can travel to different parts of Texas and hunt different things and be exposed to the different areas. So we can have people from West Texas apply to come here too.
But that is one of the things that we are going to be looking at prior to making that I guess the close date. So sometime this week, we're going to be touching base with the state just to see what kind of numbers they are, what numbers they have, because I think Kimberly has gotten a lot of questions about it, but we, as she mentioned, we don't get alerts as when somebody applies. So we may be getting a lot of phone calls about a lot of interest, but then we don't know if anybody ever has applied for it. So that's something that she's going to be working on. But if there is something or somebody or someone that please let us know, and we can contact them or have them contact us. Something that Kimberly and I talked about too is if we have to literally plug in all the information for the applicant, we'll do that. It's just, we need to find that applicant that fits that criteria of what we're looking for, which is, again, kind of the underserved areas, the folks that have never been hunting before and never experienced any outdoors, programs. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yes, we don't want the lack of computer access or the lack of confidence of finding the right site, since it's a site outside of our own, to be a deterrent. So if anyone needs help, and this is always like a blanket statement for all of our programs and events, we are always willing to help as much as we can. I know I've heard several times Jessica and Tori have they've sat on the phone and filled out things, just talking, getting the right information from people. So this is no exception to that. We want to continue to be offering that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Maybe someone will take me, I know I've been hunting.
Any other questions about the youth hunting program before I hop into the rest of our events in December? Okay, that same weekend as a youth hunting program, we're also going to be doing Merry Movie Night at Ethel Lee Tracy at the amphitheater. So we'll be having Christmas movies being played there. So that'll be our movie night in December. And yes. So that we'll be doing that. Hot chocolate activities. It should be a really fun time. And then on the next weekend, Saturday, December 18th, there'll be a Christmas Family Expo happening at the community center. Hopefully we're gonna have some vendors out and craft opportunities and tables to come on out and have fun with your family. Have Christmas
that
movie
called?
playing. We are calling it the Christmas Family Expo. And part of that is really to help with getting some Market on Main vendors. So we're still working with it. So we'll have Market on Main vendors at the Christmas on the Square event. So we're going to encourage kind of attending both events. There is a group that does a fundraiser with wrapping gifts. So we're going to do gift wrapping for people who attend Market on Main at the Christmas on the Square event, and they can come in and get their Christmas gifts wrapped at this event when they purchase items from there, and then that'll be like a bundled deal sort of thing. So, yeah. And then in January, we have the TAF Winter Games. So we're still rocking and rolling with that and doing great things. Go Rec.
Okay, I've got two more really quickly for you. The golf course. I'm just going to kind of breeze through these. We did have 10 days that the course was closed, obviously, to the river flooding. So there was 10 days of no revenue there. We are still working with vendors to find range balls. And one of the things that we have done over the last month is our point of sale system. We've upgraded to the Golf Now's G1 platform. So that was something that we really didn't have we kind of had our hands tied on that one, so we had to do it anyway. So we did have 102 tournament rounds. We had 146 practice rounds, with the total rounds being a little over 1,900. We do have 3 events that are going to be coming up here in November. On the 13th, which is the VHS Class of 1980. On the 20th, we have PAGA, and then on the 25th, we will be closed for Thanksgiving. So I just wanted to throw those numbers out there to you and let you know about some of those other items.
In general,
Yes, ma'am.
where do your participants come from to use the ball golf course? Are they from surrounding towns or mostly from Victoria?
Oh, the golf course?
Yes.
That's a really good question. Everything that I've talked with our golf pro about, it seems to be within the region, within the area. So within, I'd say, a 30-minute drive time. Some of the larger tournaments, you'll get some folks from outside of that radius, but it's typically within a 30-ish mile radius.
Do y'all have multi-day tournaments?
Not typically. No, ma'am.
January 15th, that weekend, we will have a multi-day tournament.
Oh, yes, we
It's
will.
TAF.
Yes, with TAF, we will. We'll have a 3-day tournament with that
Yeah,
one.
we will.
Yeah, it's not often that we have multi-day event tournaments, but there are occasions where we do. Any other question on golf course? Oh, all right, last slide. Community center. Just wanted to give you a really quick snapshot. So we had 16 rentals for the city of Victoria, 10 that were non-city of Victoria rentals for a total of 26. Most of those city rentals will include, the leagues and events, and some non-city rentals are pretty much typical, the weddings, the quinceañeras, Sweet 16s, those types of things. We are working with M&S Engineering for the HVAC design of the community center dome. That was something that we had presented to council. Council approved it, and we were moving forward with a redesign of the complete HVAC system in the dome. So that way it's hot when it's cold, and it's cold when it's hot, and not the other way around. So. And then, of course, they're continuing to work with the Recreation Division to utilize the community center for additional leagues and programs. So I want to make sure that we can continue to use that and make it the asset that it truly is for the community. But with that, that's all I've got for the department.
Was the audio system repaired at the community center?
Yes, it is still, unfortunately, is still under repair because of the one part that is waiting to be sent over from across the seas. So, yes, yeah, we are still waiting on one little part. But yes, ma'am.
Something small could be just to improve the community center. Would be just to repaint the parking spots. That would be something. Well, I don't know the cost, but I'm being naive about that part. But something I think that wouldn't be too big that I think could improve the at least appearance.
Sure.
The parking, the painting.
Well, if you see the Parks and Recreation Department out there, well, I have to make sure Public Works is okay with this, but if you see Parks and Rec out there on a striping machine, it may be something that they're doing, sir. So they got a new striping machine, and we're like, hey, where can we use that besides the fields?
I tried out on Rosebud parking lot the other day. It
Right?
looks good, yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
That was
Thank you.
striped.
Yes, that stadium parking lot looks
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah, that's something that's like I don't know about the cost, but I'm saying as far as not a lot of manual labor that can
Right.
change the appearance pretty quick.
Yes, sir.
Did the flood mess up all that new paving that went in?
No, sir.
Awesome.
No, sir. Yeah, they,
It was like a
Riverside.
week before the flood, right? Y'all
Yeah,
repaved
pretty
all-
much. Yeah, pretty much. Luckily, the soccer fields were the soccer field parking lot was the only one that would have really been, would have really had some issues, but it worked out just fine. So thankfully, we're good. That's all I've got.
Right. Jason, thank you. Thank you, Kimberly. Appreciate it. Future agenda items. Anybody have anything they want to put on the agenda for the future meeting? All right.
I would just say what's like kind of along your lines with what's the next step with this Parks and Rec master plan? Once it's approved, how do we go about looking at the transportation plan? Like,
Great question.
Where do we go? I mean, I think we all agreed, or at least I hope we all agreed, because I really want to. But like, with the
okay.
transportation plan, how do we get that? How did this start with the Parks and Rec master plan? How do we move on to a new master plan? I wasn't here for that, so.
I like that. I like us having goals like that to work towards too, and try to figure out how to get there. What is that step? He's right. Do you know what our next process, if we were to look at that?
Well, what I sort of thought about while reading through it and looking at the plan recommendations and stuff was to try to, really sit down and break out in topic areas or subject matter areas, things that we might, as a commission, choose to, to try to make. I don't know if we want to form committees or how to approach them, but there are several, like the regulatory was one of the issues, and then they also prioritize those things, short term, medium term, or long term, or ongoing, and some of those things really lend themselves more to the department doing, but some of them I think really lend themselves to us being able to kind of focus on too. I think on like the active transportation plan. That sounds, I don't know that much about it, but it sounds like that's sort of an undertaking that we probably have to convince council to do. But I think it's important to let them know that the commission favors taking that step because it will benefit the parks plan going forward.
Right, and isn't the city working on their own kind of master plan for everything?
So the city has a comprehensive plan, and that's, you want to call it like the main umbrella, if you will. And then you have all these other plans that are associated with it, like the Parks Master Plan, Downtown Master Plan, Transportation Plan, those kinds of things. So, I mean, we're not spearheading anything else other than these 4 master plans that we have going, but there's always,
So there already is a transportation master plan that's going into effect. So is this something that we might just want to bring up to the transportation master plan, whoever's behind that, and
well, it's.
Trouble is, this one's kind of an orphan, you know, it's sort of, because
Yeah,
it's
so-
active transportation, it's not cars. I mean, the car people kind of have their own, you know,
Right.
car people are, you know.
Well, that could be one of our future agenda items, to discuss how we can take the next
It's a great
steps.
point. This is
yeah,
exactly
yeah,
what
we don't have to
ought
solve
do.
it here. We can make that
You're
a
right.
future
That's
agenda.
Let's take that.
Justin, thank you.
Take
That's
the next
exactly.
Yes, sir. Thank
Because
you.
that is, I mean, that is a great thing he's saying, and that's, you know, that's something that we can figure out.
Why don't we develop some talking points for that for next time, and I'll get with you, and
Okay.
we'll kind of focus on that, and we'll have a discussion about that next
And
time.
I like your idea of committees too, we should discuss that next.
Sure.
Maybe some of us have strengths that we can satellite a committee, whatever, to bring these discussions back when we're at this commission.
Yeah, well, number one, I guess the city does need to adopt the plan once we
Yeah.
see to do them.
But still though,
But-
even without adopting it, that was a good idea that we have to move forward with
Yeah,
addressing anyway.
no, I think so. Why don't we put that on we'll put that on the agenda for next time.
Okay.
Yeah. Great idea.
Okay.
That's the way it's supposed to work, Justin.
Yes, yes, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. One item that we will have at the next, on the next agenda will be the potential to not have a January meeting. And that is solely because we have TAF that same week. So I just wanted to throw that out there to you, that we probably will have something on the agenda in December to potentially not have a January meeting if the commission is okay with that. Or we could move it, but yeah.
You guys are going to be swamped.
It's also Mlk Weekend.
Well, yes, with that Monday is MLK Day, so it's a city holiday.
Oh, that Monday is? Okay. So nonetheless, we'll have something else on the agenda for y'all to discuss and potentially
Right.
approve.
The next January meeting is the 10th, Jan 10?
Oh, darn. I'm not darn.
Sorry. I mean, doesn't.
Yeah, I think it's the Monday before.
Oh, yeah, it's the second Monday. Sorry.
All right. Well, without objection, then I think we'll stand adjourned. All right. Thank you all very much. Appreciate
you.
everybody.
Good to see y'all.
Thank you.